I tried my best to find solution to the concerns internally by bringing it up with the board and with management. But the most frustrating part is that management seems to be tolerating these fraudulent acts by their inaction against these executive officers of Philhealth who are obviously compromised. Mr. Morales, we should stick to the issue rather than resort to character assassination, which are the IT and financial concern of Philhealth.
Welcome to Philbrit Channel.
Has taken too many body blows. Tulungan ho natin ang Philhealth. Kung maaari ho, huwag pagtulungan. If this cycle continues, this body might have to make that fateful decision of whether to pull the plug on this organization. Until that happens, this management will pursue what it believes to be the right thing to do. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat at magandang umaga.
Thank you, General Morales. We now will acknowledge or recognize Mr. Alcabating, who is also going to make a opening statement. Please limit it to less than 5 minutes, Mr. Alcabating. You are recognized.
Yes, Mr. Senate President, Vicente Soto and Senator Ping Lacson, Senator Bongo, and the rest of the Senate senators who are here. Good morning. Let me start by saying that majority of the Philhealth employees are hardworking, honest public servants who have been serving our country tirelessly, especially during this pandemic. Sadly, I cannot say the same for the present leadership, the executive officers of Philhealth. When I was appointed as board member, I vowed to do my job to the best of my ability. I am an accountant by profession, and it's normal in my life of work to look at numbers and make sense of it. This when I discovered that there were numbers in the IT budget and financial reports that does not add up. I tried my best to find solution to the concerns internally by bringing it up with the board and with management. But the most frustrating part is that management seems to be tolerating these fraudulent acts by their inaction against these executive officers of Philhealth who are obviously compromised. Mr. Morales, we should stick to the issue rather than resort to character assassination, which are the IT and financial concern of Philhealth. My mandate from the President is clear. Bantayan kung may kawatan diha sa Philhealth. In Tagalog, bantayan kung may magnanakaw sa Philhealth. And in English, make sure that there is no thieves in Philhealth. And I will continue to make sure that I serve my mandate. I am here today to testify, not to condemn anyone, but to help fix the Philhealth Insurance Corporation. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the other members of the board, General Marlon Padua, Dr. Grace Gonzara, Sharon Almanza, representing Secretary Sani Duque, Dominguez of Finance Department, Attorney Ryan Lita, representing Secretary Wendell Abisado, Attorney Benavides, representing Secretary Belly of Dole, and especially Dr. Susan Pineda Mercado, which I drew strength from her, who is also passionate about improving the services of Philhealth. Sado, she resigned effective June 30. Lastly, I would like to thank all employees of Philhealth who helped me understand the operation of Philhealth, including the corruption issues within. I was appointed as Director Finance Expert Panel of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation July 2019. As a member of the board, I have come across information regarding discrepancies in the information technology, IT sector, and the finance sector of the corporation. On or about December 15, 2019, the IT sector submitted its original budget request for approval by the Board of Directors in the amount of 2.1 billion. The proposal, however, had no specific details, so the board rejected it. The board directed the IT sector headed by Senior Vice President Jovita Aragona with her senior manager Alex Gabuya to submit description for the items listed in the budget request. However, they keep on submitting vague and scrambled data in an attempt to confuse the board. During the risk committee meeting on about January 8, I questioned some of the items in the proposed budget. This made the IT sector lower the proposed budget to 1.9 billion, allegedly due to typographical error. On February 15, I moved to approve only 25 million for the IT budget since I was told by Renato Limsiaco Jr. that this is the item needed to sustain the expired subscription the following month. On March 12, 2020, the board was asked by Judith Aragona to approve more than 302 million IT supplemental budget. And her reason, otherwise the entire Philhealth system will collapse. The board had no choice but to approve the same. On April 23, during a board meeting, PCEO Ricardo Morales supported its proposal presented by Ms. Aragona of 750 million budget. And this is for IT again. Since I could not in good conscience approve another 100 million peso amount after approving 328 million very amount earlier, I told the board that we have to wait for the internal audit report on the inventory of software and hardware, which was one of the directives of the audit committee. Sometime in May 2020, the internal audit results were submitted by the audit committee. I instructed the corporate secretary, Attorney Jonathan Mangawang, to include this as one of the agenda for the board meeting on May 9, 2020. 3 members of the board, Dr. Graciela Gonzaga, General Marlene Padua, and myself, agreed to have the internal audit report reported directly to the board with the permission of Audit Committee Chair Sharon Almanza, representing Department of Finance. However, even if it was included in the May 9, 2020 board agenda, PCO Ricardo Morales, who was presiding, that said that it should first be presented to the Audit Committee on May 23, 2020. Dr. Mercado argued that many of the items in the agenda were not as important as that of the proposed IT budget, which was the second agenda in the item in the agenda, but to no avail. The IT proposal for the approval of 260 million was presented, and Ms. Aragona's argument in support of the proposal was that the items in the budget were not included in the internal audit report. It was only during this meeting, after much questioning, that the board was informed by Judith Aragona that there was already an approved information system plan, ISSP, by the Department of Information, Communication and Technology, DICT. The internal audit report contained the discovery of major discrepancies in the sector's representation. There were items in the submitted budget that were not included in the ISSP approved by the DICT. As indicated in the report, the ICT resources included in the 2020 budget proposal but does not appear in the ISSP have a total amount of 734 million. The report indicated that there is an overpriced worth 98 million 50,000, and that there was really an intent to confuse and deceive by splitting one item into two. Splitting item into two items by listing different specification. This is in the amount of 132.2 million. This vague description and specification will allow the same item to be brought again the following year. This was my first observation among others, which resulted to the lowering of the proposed IT budget to 1,556,000,000. The most anomalous proposal, based on my understanding of the internal audit report, are the following. This is the overpriced and filing. Item, Adobe Master, software collection. In the 2020 budget, the proposal 21 million. Ang bibilhin dito, tatlong item lang, 168 times 3, 504. Therefore, you could make a mathematics that this is more than 20 million overpriced. Application server license, 40 million. Sa approved ISP, 25 million only. Structured cabling, dinagdagan po ng 10, makes it 5 million. Identity management software, 42 million. Sa approved ng ISP, 20 million lang. Office productivity software, 20 million. Approved ng ISP, 5 million only. Application server virtualization license and support, 25 million sa proposed 2020 budget, 14.8 million lang na approved ng DICT. They included in the 2020 proposed IT budget but not included and approved in the ISSP. Fraud analytic tool, 132 million. Portable Wi-Fi, hotspot, satellite phones, 840,000. Yung machine, 302,000. 43 units of ICT resources, not itemized, 40,717,500. Another anomalous proposal, laptop indicated, or laptops, no indicated number of units, twice, 4.1 million and 115 million. 3 projects, not specified, totaling 90,075,000. The board was not informed by the corporate secretary, Attorney Jonathan Mangawang, about COA audit observation memoranda, which are not presented during board meeting if he is not instructed to do so, like the audit findings of the 20th financial statement in the audit query memorandum 2020-003 EXO dated January 31, 2020, involving short deliveries. The audit report from COA is actually addressed to the board. The internal audit report is analogous to the COA audit observation memorandum that asked Philhealth to explain the purchase of total of 29.6 million hardware and software due to vague terms and reference and ghost deliveries. The corporation financial statement has also been manipulated by Renette Linsaco, Senior Vice President for Financial Management Sector, and his staff have been overstating the income of Philhealth by reducing the amount of benefit claim. The 2020-19 income was overstated by 14.3 billion. Ito po ginawa natin ahead of COA. Pareho po ang lumabas na observation natin ng COA report. The Commission on Audit COA has also issued a disclaimer against 2028 financial statement due to questionable reduction of benefit expense, since there was no basis for the adjustment. The chart below shows by analysis and discrepancies in the financial statement. Let me just go back to the 2019. Ang totoo pong debt to equity ratio natin is 116 to 1. Alright, itong projected June 2020, ang reported June 2030 sa board na debt to equity ratio is 147 is to 1. Pero ang ginawa kong projection, 160 to 100, 160 to 1. Ang ibig sabihin, ang utang natin 160, ang available na lang na pera is 100. Pero hindi pa kasama dito yung COVID na binayad na 114 billion. If you will look at it, ang totoong debt to equity ratio as of June 30, 2020 is 170 is to 1. Including the 14, this is including the 14 billion advance binayad na hindi pa chinyards ni Renette Linsaco sa income statement. The most frustrating part of my work in Philhealth is that management seems to be tolerating these fraudulent acts by their inaction against these executive officers of Philhealth. There are good people who try to warn the board and the president and CEO of these discrepancies. Among them are the head executive assistant, Lieutenant Colonel Val Laborte, and Attorney Thorson Kitt, who had been vigilant and tried to prevent the approval of some of questionable transactions. In vain, they have since resigned. The vigilance of the board has earned the ear of PCO Morales, who wrote the board defending his officers whom he felt were humiliated by the board. This led to an exchange of letters between PCO Morales and some members of the board, especially myself. In this letter, I mentioned that instead of questioning the board, he should be thankful that we are vigilant. I also question why he has repeatedly endorsing the IT proposal without waiting for the internal audit report. PCO Morales said that the most important element in organization are its people, but has not prioritized the concern that will benefit the rank and file of the file personnel of PhilHealth. An example of this was the Welfare Support Assistant, WESA, the grant of which was delayed by management by asking for the opinion of Governance Commission for GCG. Even if, according to the board member, Dr. Grace Gonzaga, there was already a Supreme Court ruling in favor of it. This was the first in the series of letter exchange between PCO Morales and myself. Sometime during the June 2, 2020 regular board meeting, after the presentation of the internal audit report, the board ordered an investigation in the IT procurement and created an investigating committee for it composed of Dennis Adres, Lieutenant Colonel Laborte, Head Executive Assistant, Attorney Labi, Corporate Legal Counsel. PCO Morales did not comply with the board directive for almost 3 weeks, and during the next board meeting, Mr. Adre was eliminated from the investigation committee because of his pending administrative case. Instead, Morales suggested that the board chose from the following newly appointed officers, a new head of the investigation team, Dr. Lico, Attorney Panti, Mrs. Willen Peña, Attorney Pulintan, all of which, except Attorney Pulintan, have been implicated in the criminal cases filed by the NBI for the well-made scam, and Secretary Rookie in the Ombudsman for the Perpetual Soccer case. This was so disgusting, obvious, that even the confidential employees of PCO Morales, his head executive assistant Lieutenant Colonel Etrobal Laborte, and corporate legal counsel Attorney Robert Labe resigned from the investigating committee. Lastly, on July 22, 2020, we attended the Zoom meeting of the board members with Jose Quetay as part of the investigation ordered by the President Duterte on PhilHealth matters. It was there where I let out my frustration with management headed by PCO Morales for their inaction of IT. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Kabating. Attorney Thorson Keith would also like to make an opening statement, but will you please ask the Senate Secretary is asked to is directed to administer the oath to Mr. Keith, to Attorney Keith, because he was not here when the resource persons would administer the oath.
Yes, sir.
Attorney Thorson Keith.
Attorney Thorson Keith, please raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this investigation in aid of legislation?
Yes, sir. Officer.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you're recognized. Please try to limit the opening statement.
Yes, sir, Officer. Salamat po, salamat po, sir. Magandang umaga po sa mga kagalang-galang nating mga senador at mga senadora. Magandang umaga din po sa mga kababayan natin na nandito at mga kababayan natin na sa ibang bansa. Ako po si Attorney Thorson Montes Keith. Kabibitiw ko lang po bilang Anti-Fraud Legal Officer ng PhilHealth. Ang pangunahing trabaho ko po bilang Anti-Fraud Legal Officer ay maging espiya sa mga korap na empleyado sa PhilHealth. Ayaw na ayaw ko po sa mga korap kasi ang tingin ko sa kanila mga api. Ayaw ko po na inaapi ang mga mahihina at walang laban. Ayaw na ayaw ko din pong ako ay inaapi at ako po ay lumalaban sa mga api. Higit po sa lahat, ayaw na ayaw kong inaapi ng kahit kanino man ang mga OFWs kasi sobrang naawa po ako sa kanila. Sa katunayan nga po, doble-doble po ang binabayaran ng OFWs kasi pati po ang employer's share ay kanilang binabayaran. Hindi pa nga po magamit ng mga OFWs ang PhilHealth sa ibang bansa, pinadoble pa ang bayad nila ng mga aping sindikato, Mafia na execom ng PhilHealth. Narito po ako ngayon para magbigay ng aking nalalaman sa malapandemyang korupsyon sa ahensya ng PhilHealth. Sa aking ipapahayag, naniniwala po ako na ang balak ng mga sindikato o mafia ng PhilHealth na ang pagkukuhanan ng impantatapal sa mga nawaldas at ninakaw nilang pera ay sa mga overseas Filipino workers. Ang aking natuklasan sa Philhealth ay matatawag po na krimen ng taon o sa English ay crime of the year dahilan sa pagsindikato sa pamimigay ng cash advance, ang interim reimbursement mechanism at ang pag-overprice at paulit-ulit na pagbili ng nabili ng IT equipments. Naniniwala po ako base sa aking investigasyon ng perang nawaldas at o ninakaw ay humigit kumulang 15 billion pesos. Naniniwala po ako na ang dahilan kung bakit hindi natatapos ang korupsyon sa Philhealth at naging kultura na nga po ito ay ang pagtatalaga o paglalagay ng mga sindikato o mafia ng kanilang kasamahan, kasabwat o kapwa-sindikato sa matataas na posisyon at mga posisyon na nakakatulong sa kanilang illegal na operasyon. Lagi po akong nagsusumbong ng mga katiwalaan dito sa mga kaukulang ahensya kagaya ng PACC, ang resident ko, pati na rin po ang NBI. Nagsumbong din po kami kay Brigadier General Augustus Boy H. Divilla, SBP for Operations Philhealth. Kay Brigadier General Augustus Boy Divilla ko po unang nalaman na mafia sindikato ang lahat ng nasa Execom. Kung mapapansin niyo po, sa lahat po ng mga anomalyan transaction ay wala siyang pirma. Noong napansin ng mafia na marami ng mga dokumento ang napupunta sa mga kaukulang ahensya at mga matataas na tao na may interes na sugpuin ang korupsyon sa ahensya, ako na po ay kanilang pinaghinalaan at pinagbawalan nila akong sumali sa Execom meeting. May pagkakataon na inutusan pa po ako ni Brigadier General Ricardo Morales na puntahan ko si Commissioner Greco Bilhica para hilutin ang kaso ng Philhealth sa overpriced COVID testing kits. Inayawan ko po ang utos at sinabi ko po kay Brigadier General Morales na ano na lang po ang tingin sa akin ni Commissioner Greco Bilhica kapag pakikiusapan ko siya hinggil sa kaso. Namula po si Brigadier General Ricardo Morales nung sinabi ko iyon. Nandun lang po sa tabi namin si Colonel Etrobal Laborte. Naniniwala po ako na masusugpo na natin itong malapandemyang korupsyon sa Philhealth. Naniniwala din po ako na mabibigyan na natin ng kaukulang batas na magiging proteksyon ng mga mahal nating overseas Filipino workers. Ang Diyos ang ating lakas at ang Biblia ang ating gabay. Mabuhay ang mga Pilipino, mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Salamat po, sir. Salamat po. Salamat po.
Thank you, Attorney Keith. After those opening statements, I will allow our colleagues to raise questions to our resource persons. For every round, a senator is given 10 minutes to ask his questions. The interjection of the Senate President or the Chairman and the Vice Chairman will not be counted in the 10 minutes of the senators. Now, for the order of questioning, this will be followed. First, the physically present in order of their arrival, and then the officers, and then the virtually present in the order of their login. If you want to know, if our colleagues who are monitoring would want to know the list so that they can prepare and know what time more or less they will be called, we will start with Senator Lacson, and then Senator Lapid, and Senator Tolentino, and Senator Villanueva. Thereafter, the officers in the order of their login, Senators Tubiri, Drilon, and Recto. And then Senators Marcos, Po, Ontiveros, Go, Villar, Pangilinan, De La Rosa, Binay, and then Angara. So that for the record. So let us start by recognizing the Vice Chairman, Senator Ping Lacson. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to address my questions to Board Member Al Kabading. In your letter to PCEO Morales, dated May 19, 2020, I will quote a portion of your letter. You said, you repeatedly endorsed the IT proposal, not even waiting for the internal audit report ordered by the board. So my question is, can you state before this body yung instances where President and CEO Morales endorsed this allegedly flawed IT budget proposal? May mga instances pa na siya yung nagtutulak nito? Board Member Kabading? Wala naka-mute.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, what can you mention before this body kung ano yung instances when PCO Morales repeatedly endorsed this an apparently flawed IT proposal, yung budget?
Yeah, aside from the very, yung clear na talaga na nandun yung dokumentong endorse is during the April 23, 2020 regular board meeting. Ang amount pina-endorse niya, mayroon siyang naka-attach na endorsement doon, 750 million. Pero actually, sa record, hindi 750 million eh. Yung hiningi niya ay 776 million. Pero to begin with, December pa lang, dapat kasi kung mag-present ka man ng budget na ganyan, dapat titingnan mo muna ito bago mo isalang sa amin. On last December 15, we were giving him the benefit of the doubt. Sabi ko, ano ba to? Hindi ba dapat tinitingnan ito bago isalang sa amin? Ano mangyayari sa atin dyan pagka pinirmahan natin yan? Anyway, pangalawa niyan ay May something, May 9? May 9, because April 23, May 9. Dinagdagan na naman ng 216. Sabi ko, dito na nagkaroon ng heated argument because hindi. Why are you are trying to set aside the internal audit report pagkatapos ngayon sasabihin mo na unahin mo na yung 216 just because the internal audit report does not mention the item of the 216 million? Yun po, Mr. Senator.
And I understand there's also a letter coming from PCO Morales addressed to the board. Would you confirm this, General Morales? I think this is dated. This is about the board meeting held last May 14, 2020. Sumulat po kayo sa board at you acknowledge the fact that there were apparent irregularities in the budget proposal ng IT.
May I see a copy of this letter, Senator, please? Is this,
Yes, there is a copy class on the board. Merong portion dyan na ina-acknowledge ninyo na meron talagang apparent irregularities in the IT budget proposal. Shouldn't that be reason enough para itigil na yung pag-endorse ng budget for the IT as PCO? And instead, order investigation or further inquiry as to the proposal, budget proposal.
Can I have a legible copy of this letter, Senator, so that I can...
But this is your letter to the board, eh?
I have many letters to the board.
No, this is dated 15 May 2020. Paki-zoom mo nga yung paki-highlight yung portion that I just mentioned. Ito, I take particular issue with the proceedings of yesterday's regular board meeting when it was suggested that an IT-related proposal contained provisions that would be disadvantageous to the corporation. So, in-acknowledge ninyo na merong issue. No? Since all submissions to the board are supposed to have management imprimatur, by extension, management at its head, the PCO was complicit. Parang nagdududa pa kayo, bakit nagbibintangan nyo ba kung complicit dito?
Yes, sir, I confirm this was my letter, but it was not to the board. It was to the individual board members.
Yeah, ganun din yun.
Yes, because in the exchange of that board meeting, it was suggested by some members of the board that management was submitting flawed documents for approval to the board. That is the issue that I took up with the individual board members, not the entire board. Sa mga, I sent this
Well, how many
individually.
board members did you address the letter? Not all the board members. Because marami naman mga ex-official like the representatives ng DOLE,
Opo.
different agencies.
Opo.
So ang nire-refer yung board, yung mga regular members ng board, like sina Dr. Susi, di ba?
Opo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Diba nakatanggap kayo ng letter? So
Yes,
ang
sir.
tanong ko, since in-acknowledge naman ninyo na merong issue do sa budget proposal sa IT, di ba dapat hold na muna yun? Pero meron pang subsequent endorsements from 2.1 billion that was rejected by the board. Pumasok pa yung magkano 750. And then meron pang 328. Bakit persistent pa rin yung and at what point I would like to ask Dr. Mercado to confirm or deny this. Na at one point nung pinasok yung 328 dahil ang sinabi ninyo at least si Ms. Argona magkukulaps yung IT system pag hindi nyo in-approve. Because ang na-approve lamang yung yung motion ni Mr. Kabading na 25 million. And then subsequently, there was a supplemental budget, 328, na ang sinabi ng ninyo sa board, I was referring to Ms. Aragona, magkukulaps yung IT system. So si Dr. Mercado, nakapag-comment na para naman yatang pinablockmail na itong board. Would you confirm that, Dr. Susi?
Thank you very much, Senator Lacson. Ang nangyari po kasi dito, noong nilabas pa po, unang nilabas yung budget, katulad po nung sinabi ni board member Al Cabading noong December, kulang po ng justification. Hindi po namin masikmura na ipapasa namin ang budget na yon dahil hindi po ma-explica ng mabuti kung saan pupunta yung pera. Malaking pera po 2.1 billion. At ako po, bilang public health panelist po ng Philhealth, excited po ako na may ganong kalaking pera para sa information technology dahil sa ko po sa baba, sa grassroots level, tumutulong po ako sa ibang mga LGU at sa ibang mga opisina. Nakikita ko na yung pong information technology system po natin ay talagang 20 years behind po tayo. Wala po tayong mga laptop, wala pong mga gamit, hindi po kabit-kabit ang mga sistema. So kung ikaw po ay isang pasyente, palaging bago ang record mo. No? So sabi ko, magandang pagkakataon nito. Nagulat lang ako na nung humingi na kami ng mga explanation tungkol sa ano ang paggastos ng 2.1 billion na napakalaking pera nga, ay lagi pong hindi tama hindi sapat ang naisasagot. Ngayon, ang ginawa po, hindi ko matiyak kung yung audit committee or yung finance committee, nagpagawa po ng audit, yung pong internal audit na nasa inyo. Nung ito po ay papag-usapan na sa board, dinilay po. So nagtataka po kami kung bakit hindi ito priority. Sa halip na pag-usapan yung audit report para kwentas klaras, maayos natin, ang nangyari ay humihingi pa sila ng pera ulit.
Supplemental.
Yes. So ang sinabi po sa amin nung unang panahon na yon, nung mga March, ay kung hindi po, meron po silang mga hindi natapos na kontrata noong 2019 na kung hindi po maaaprobahan ang budget ng supplemental budget, ay titiklop po ang IT system ng Philhealth. So ang board po, ang pakiramdam pag hindi namin inaprobahan itong 328 million from the 2019 budget, na dapat nagastos na nila yun, uulit na naman daw sila ng bidding process. So ito po ay inilapit sa DBM at sinabing pwedeng mag-supplemental budget. So meron pong na-release na pondo para dun sa isang project ng 2019. Iba po yun sa 2.1 billion na hinihingi for 2020. So ang nangyari po dyan, nung itong mga panahon na to, medyo mainit na po ang usapin namin sa board kasi frustrated po kami na hindi po tinatalakay yung audit report. Sa halip, ibang pinag-uusapan. At bukod pa doon, humingi pa ng karagdagang pondo. So, yun po ang frustration namin sa board.
So, Ms. Aragona, bakit ayaw niyong itakil yung audit report? Importante yon before the board would approve the budget proposal. Kasi hindi sila mag-approve, pwede sila sumabit. So, kindly explain or respond to the statement made by Al Cabading and Dr. Asusi.
Yung decision about not to tackle the audit, it was not from me, sir, during the time not to tackle
So, sino?
the audit report.
Sino?
I think it was,
Corsec.
Opo, sir.
Corsec Mangawang. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr.
Yeah.
President and all other members of the Senate. Actually, there was a letter from the Office of the Chair requesting that the IAG report, which was in the agenda, be referred first to the Audit Committee as a matter of protocol before elevating it to the board. And the Audit Committee agreed to have an Audit Committee the following week after May 14, prior to presentation to the board.
Yeah, sige. President Morales, would you acknowledge na meron kang duda na pwede may irregularity talaga dito sa budget proposal?
No, sir. I don't think
Yung sa 2.1 billion?
I think it was a matter of explaining fully to the members of the board the details of the IT system. Because information system is very complicated and
I know, but you know, let's just simplify matters, ano? Kasi pag nag-usap tayo ng IT, information technology, medyo matatagalan tayo. Hindi natin masyado maintindihan. Anyway, this is not the first time na merong anomalya sa procurement. A case in point, ano? Yung last year, yung previous year's procurement of network switches, 74.3 million pesos. Ito yung 24 network switches. Ito yung COA report. Ito, procured ito. Ang sabi ng COA, 24 network switches were verified not utilized and found inside its box at the time of inspection at various selected PROs, etc., etc. Non-utilization. And then, here we are, this was procured, 74.3 million, 24 network switches. Kinumpute namin ito, lumalabas, nasa mga, well, 74 million divided by 24. That's an easy computation, ano? And then, nagpo-procure na naman kayo yung 2019 Philhealth procurement, ano? Network switches, 15 units Cisco Catalyst switches, ano? Ang contract price, 4.8 million pesos. Ayan, 4,814,880 pesos, ano? Ang market price, 939,360. So ang difference, because, and I would like to ask Colonel Laborte, ang lumalabas dito, ang overpriced ninyo, yung ma-incur na losses ng government, natuloy ito because this is an awarded contract, but not procured kasi napigil, hindi na-implement. As a matter of fact, I think one of the board members, sino yung, kasi napirmahan na ito eh. And then, medyo pinunit yung mga pages na pirmado kasi alam niya sasabi. Look, 62,000 pesos. Na-presyon ito, yung galing sa unit price ng IAG ICT report sa ISSP, 441. Yung unit price as per IT clearance from IMS, 420. Yung unit price sa bid price, yung SBAC, sabi lang, nakatipid kami rito kasi 320,000 lang ang bibili namin sa halip na 420. Pero a simple checking, Google lang, no? Doon sa mismong website ng Cisco, and lumalabas $1,224. I-51 to 1 mo na lang yung exchange rate, that's roughly 62,000 pesos. So, nanakawa na naman yung gobyerno, yung pera ng PhilHealth in the amount of 3.8 million pesos. Alam mo, masyadong blatant, masyadong brazen. Hubris ang tawag dito. Na ganitong kalaki yung overprice, hindi na natatakot na mabubuko. Alam nyo, yung here and there, 5%, 10%, pwede siguro pikit na natin yung hindi lang isang mata, siguro dalawang mata, pero my God, 3.8. Tapos hindi pa yon. Nakabox pa yung 24 units. Magpo-procure pa uli ng 15 units. Saan gagamitin? Nakabox pa nga sabi ng COA eh. As of January 31, 2020, nakabox. Ito naman procurement na ito, August, I think 20 of 2019. Kasi kung nakabox ito ng January 31, 2020, nakabox pa rin ito ng August 20, 2019. So this is not the first time that an IT equipment procurement is fraught with anomaly. So, rightly so, yung board, medyo alanganin sila. Kasi pwede rin sila makulong kung sakaling pipirma sila because Pag pirma mo dyan, nandyan ang signature mo. And that's the reason why nakalimutan ko lang yung pangalan ng nagpirma doon sa award, ano? And then he or she was very, was just being careful to punitin yung, I think 6 pages yun eh. Kasi nakapirma siya doon. Kasi pagka nakalusot yun, nasabi siya doon. And I'd like to ask Colonel Laborte, I think he's knowledgeable on this issue, about this issue. Colonel Laborte. Colonel Val, are you there? Ngayon, yung 15 units na nabibilin pa ulit, overpriced pa ulit. Yung binili noong 20, I think this was 2018 procurement, yung 24 units, overpriced pa rin yun eh. As I said, pag dinivide mo yung 74.3 million divided by 24 units, magkano yun? 74.3 million divided by 24 units. Attorney Labe, meron ka bang calculator? I want to hear it from you. 24 units. Network switches. O 3 million, 3.09 million pesos per unit. Tapos nung kinanbas yung ipoprocure na naman, na meron ng notice of award, dumalabas 62,000. Nasaan na yung kaluluwa ng mga gumagawa nito? Go ahead.
Sir, I think yung nire-refer ni BM Kabati kanina sa vision sa board, these were budget proposals. These were not
I know.
contracts.
But, i-discuss nyo pa ba yung ganung budget proposal? And I'm referring to this particular item.
Opo.
This was already awarded.
Yes, this is over. Award na ho ito.
O, wag na muna, kalimutan na muna natin yung mga budget proposal. Ito, procured. Nasa bodega, nakabox. Bibili pa uli ng 15 units, overpriced pa rin. Eh, nakabox pa nga yung 24 units. Kindly explain because,
Sino kayong nag-alam niya?
we ourselves cannot understand who would have the heart or the conscience to procure such item or items. Oh, wala na makasagot.
Sir, yung mga items kasi if it's okay to be given kung ano yun so that we can explain also.
Record nyo ito eh.
Po,
Ito sa inyo nang galing ito.
yes
Sa
po, may mga,
PhilHealth. Huwag mong hingin sa akin kasi kayo nagbigay
Yes.
sa akin ito. Hindi ikaw.
hindi ako.
Pero PhilHealth ang nagbigay sa akin ito. Kaya huwag mo kong hingan sa inyo galing ito.
Sige po, sino po nagbigay?
I won't tell you, but galing sa PhilHealth because these are official documents.
Sige po,
Even the COA report. Ito maliwanag. Meron niyang... Anyway, kindly explain.
sa
Colonel Laporte, we want to hear from you.
Colonel Laborte is not logged in right now, but Attorney Kit would like to respond
Yeah,
to
please,
your question. So Attorney Kit, you are recognized.
Sir, yung tanong po sir ni Senator Lacson sir na yung pumunit po dun sa 6 na pages sir, si Brigadier General Augustus Boy Divilla po sir, siya po ang pumunit doon sir kasi alam niya po na maanomalya yun sir. So pinunit niya po yun sir sa harap naming dalawa ni Colonel Balaborti sir.
Divilla, kindly respond. Did you actually...
Sir, noon time sir wala po ako natandang pinot. Pero tinago ko po kasi I was informed by Colonel Laporte na mataas nga raw daw sir yung presyo.
Ilang mataas, sobrang mataas.
Opo. So sabi ko, ay pag ganyan medyo malabo yan. Kasi yun nga sir, yung in my 30 years of military service in the military medical officer po ako. Napakaingat ko po kasi sa ganyan sir, lalo yung procurement. I never allow that. So sabi ko, dapat tanggalin. Tsaka hindi ko pa naman time nung binibiting yan. I'm only 9 months in Philhealth, sir.
Can you produce those documents? Kasi sabi mo, hindi mo naman pinunit, itinago mo. So where is it now?
Sir, I believe it's still existing, pero hindi ko na pumatanda kung nasaan,
No.
Okay.
Hindi pwedeng ganyan sagot.
Opo, sir. Yes, sir, I will try to find out, sir. But siguro, sir, baka na kasi every morning, Attorney Kit, Torson, and Monday to Friday, sir, parating nasa office
Would
kaya
you like
kami
the committee of the whole to issue a subpoena? So you will be compelled to submit
Yes, sir.
the document to the committee. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I so move, Mr. President,
Sir,
that the document mentioned should be submitted to this committee.
All right, hearing no objection, the Senate Secretariat will issue a subpoena to Sistecum
yes, sir.
for the documents mentioned. You may proceed. By the way, Senator Lacson, you're 18 seconds to go, but Senator Lapid is giving you his 5 minutes. So you may continue.
Bakit 5 lang? Anyway, thank you, Mr. President. Moving on, IRM. Merong listahan ng mga hospitals. I think there was an issue one, circular number 2020-0007. Ang mother or yung reference, yung parang progeny, sabihin natin, yung pinanggalingan ng, I don't know if it's the right term, but yung pinanggalingan dokumento doon, several issuances. Yung sinasabi, pagka yung fortuitous events ang sakop, like nung nagkaroon ng Undoy, merong similar issuance, Philhealth circular din, ibang number, ibang series. And again, during the Marawi siege, nag-issue rin. Now, ang talagang intent ng interim reimbursement mechanism, it is a special privilege for the provision of substantial aid to an eligible HCI, healthcare institution, directly hit by a fortuitous event with a clear and apparent intent to continuously operate para ma-rebuild, para hindi ma-hamper yung kanilang operation, binibigyan ng interim reimbursement under the IRM mechanism or policy, binibigyan ng pera. But eventually, when you issued 2020 circular number 2020-0007, ito na yung COVID-19. Bakit parang nag-deviate dun sa intent ng IRM? Parang nasama na yung COVID patient. Wala doon rebuilding their critically damaged healthcare system na yung lumabas. Samantalang calamity, Marawi siege, man-made or natural, yung intent. Kindly explain why you deviated from the original intent of that circular. Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. President, Senator Lacson. The purpose of the IRM in this case was to respond to the fortuitous event of the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, and even today, we do not know the extent and how long and how deep the pandemic is going to hit. So it was a preemptive move to provide the hospitals with funds so that they could respond to the pandemic if and when it happens. So ang fortuitous event po dito, yung pandemic, to keep them operating. Yun po ang...
Okay, granting without accepting. Payagan na natin. Nag-deviate na kayo doon sa yung assistance dahil sa fortuitous event. Pumunta na tayo sa COVID-19. Ano ngayon ang basis for the master list? I understand that the master list came from the central office. Did you consult the regional vice presidents? Did you consult the hospitals concerned? May consultation ba or unilateral ito on the part of central office to prepare a master list of hospitals or HCIs, not hospitals alone?
Initially, we worked with the master list. Level 1, 2, 3 hospitals, those who were COVID capable. In other words, they had isolation wards, they had the equipment to treat COVID. And then later on, we scaled it back because we found out that yung incidence ng COVID, merong home clustering. So we limited it doon sa mga areas na mataas ang incidence. But during the initial phase, na hindi natin alam kung saan tatama ang COVID, marami yung hospitals ang nakakuha ng IRM. Ngunit ang sinigurado ho namin na bawat province, city o region, yung mga referral hospitals at yung mga clinics ay makakatanggap ho ng IRM. Ngayon, meron ho mga areas na because mabibilis yung kanilang administrative efficiency, na-process ho nila yung kanilang IRM transaction. Habang yung iba ho, it took some time. So yun ho ang dahilan kung bakit
When
hindi
did this take
nagkasabay-sabay.
effect? Itong PhilHealth Circular 0007 2020 series. Kailan nag-take effect ito? It was issued 20 March 2020. Ang tanong ko, kailan yung effectivity date? O kailan na-disseminate? Kailan na-release? I understand, for every issuance, merong karugtong ito, just like the law that we passed. Ano? Merong IRR. Ang tawag sa inyo rito, SOP. So when did the SOP take effect?
We will check our records.
Please. In the meantime, habang kina-check yung records, ang sabi nyo kanina, COVID-capable. Di ba? Meaning, merong facilities to admit COVID patients. I will show you yung releases. Ano? Yung na-mention ko sa opening statement ko. Brown Abitum Dialysis Center, Manila. There are 5 branches. Kindly flash it on the screen. There are 5 branches. 1 in Tondo, 2 in Quezon City, 2 in Tondo, 1 in Baguio City. Look, 45 million pesos released in a matter of, MOA received date April 15. By April 23, nag-release na kayo ng 15 million. Dialysis center. Kinunan namin na sa website, tinignan namin yung picture, ni walang kama. Puro upuan. Ba't kayo mag-release ng 15 million? Sinong COVID patient na pupunta rin? And as a matter of protocol, and I think Dr. Mercado knows this, pagka-dialysis center, hindi pwedeng tumanggap ng COVID-19 patient. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, paano kayo magre-release ng 15.8? What is the justification in releasing 15.8 million pesos to HCI B. Brown Abitum Philippines Incorporated? At saka Suki, look, ang total 45 million. Can you explain how this happened?
Opo. Nilapitan mo kami ng Nephrology Association. And they appealed to us that they were turning away patients because they were running short of funds. And sabi nila, many of their patients were already, some of them were already dying. This is what they told us. And there were several appeals to us from not only from...
Yeah, but they're not covered by IRM.
Opo. No, initially po.
Kasi in-stress na natin yung fortuitous event. Sabi ko, granting without accepting. Na sige, payagan na natin COVID-19, pandemic. Dialysis na ito eh.
Opo.
How long, Dr. Susi, gaano ba katagal magpa-dialysis?
Matagal po eh. It could take years.
No, I mean one visit.
One visit, a few hours.
A few hours. Ito, nag-MOA ng April 15. So April 23, na-release yung 15 million. Don't tell me. Ganyan karami yung dialysis ninyo. Magkano isang dialysis treatment? 2,500? 3,000? Now, how can you justify 15.8 million released? Now, I want to find out who was responsible for releasing. Anong level ba ng authority to release funds under the IRM?
I think it's at my level po.
Your level. So you release this?
Opo.
Oh, kindly explain why you release 15 million.
Because they appealed to us that the patients needed to be taken care of. We have about 50,000 dialysis patients.
No, we're not dealing with dialysis. We're talking COVID-19.
Opo. But they said that these are people with comorbidities.
Anak ng baka. Look, okay. Iwanan natin muna itong dialysis center. Maternity care provider. Ito yung after birth na ito, Dr. Susi, di ba? Kasi pagka yung maternity care provider, nakapanganak na.
Pwede sir na manganganak pa lang.
Okay. Sabihin na natin ang anak. 226 million pesos. IRM releases as of June 9, 2020. Napakasuswerte naman nila lang nitong maternity care package na ito na providers na, you know, 226 million, and you also cost the release of this amount? Why?
Because
226 million. And yet, Hospital ng Maynila, appeal sa inyo, public hospital, 19 million lang sinisingil. Hanggang ngayon, hindi nyo binabayaran. Punong-puno na sila dun. I talked to the city administrator. I asked him, meron na reimburse na ba kayo, nabayaran na kayo? Kasi I read in a, I think it's a news article, merong human interest story doon. Naglalakad yung buong hallway, puro may COVID, natatakot yung healthcare worker. Puno na raw, wala siya magawa kasi kailangang i-treat niya. And yet, hindi nyo nare-reimburse. Despite so many appeals. My time is up, Mr. President. I'll just do my second round later.
Sir,
Yeah, please answer.
according to our
Yes,
records,
sir.
we released to the Hospital Manila June 23, 19.3 million.
Well, you better check your records because I just asked Mr. Cesar Chavez from the Office of the Mayor, and he submitted to me the report only last night.
We'll have to check off because according to our
Anyway,
records,
kindly,
June 23.
we go back to the question, maternity care provider. Bakit re-release ng 226 million pesos?
Well, they also appeal to us.
So lahat na nag-a-appeal, binibigyan nyo ng pera.
Hindi ho lahat, hindi ho lahat.
O kaya nga, anong basis?
The basis of need po. They are operating.
Yeah. You have, Senator Lapid is giving up all his time to you. He has 3 minutes and 47 seconds left. Senator Lacson, you may continue.
Thank you, Senator Lapid. Yeah, please, kindly explain fully and try to convince us that this is, this is proper and legal. You have the floor.
Yes, sir. We have about 8,500 healthcare facilities all over the country. And these are accredited with Philhealth, and they service our members. Now, under the COVID-19, we initially said that we will only focus on those that are COVID capable. But initially, the board approved about 27 billion, but they did not specify which facility would be covered by this. We started though with the levels 2, 3, 1 hospitals, and eventually we began to get a lot of requests from the dialysis clinics and the maternity clinics for releases, because according to them, they would be turning away their patients if we could not provide them this relief, which was the IRM.
It should be under another program. Ang pag-usapan natin, IRM. Pag sinabing IRM, COVID patients, ito pag-usapan natin. Huwag mo sabihin na nag-appeal.
Thanks for watching this video.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!